Welcome, fellow comic fans, to another edition of Wednesday Warriors, the show where I go over the weekly comic solicitations and pick out the books that stood out to me and I feel like are worth your time and money. I am your host, as always, Alex, and we've got ourselves another quick show for you this week. Due to my Cincinnati trip, I'm just slowly getting back into the swing of things, so I've just got to do one of these real quick, and actually two straight quick episodes back to back, so here we go. We're gonna get into the first one with a DC book, and that is the Grayson Super Spy Omnibus from Tom King, Mikkel Janin, along with a bunch of other creators, I'd imagine. Those are the only two that are listed on the solicitation site that I'm using. This will be collecting Grayson issues 1 through 20, Secret Origins issue 8, Grayson Annuals 1 through 3, Grayson Futures End issue 1, Robin War 1 and 2, and Nightwing Rebirth issue 1. That is a load of content, and it's only going for $99.99, which is a really good deal for that amount of content. As for the stories themselves, I personally have not read this stuff yet, but I am very much aware of the critical and fan reception that came from this concept. I didn't check it out at first because I didn't think much of it. It didn't seem like something that would be up my alley, but in hindsight, it kind of makes sense that this would work, since Grayson kind of has one of those personalities where he could be an effective super spy. I mean, he kind of has some of the Bond-like qualities to him anyway in terms of being a womanizer. So, yeah, this would fit him really well, actually. And at some point, I will definitely pick this up, and if you're a fan of this stuff, maybe you want to upgrade to the hardcover. If you're looking to pick it all up in one convenient place, this will certainly do that job as well. Next up, another DC book, though it's technically an imprint. This is Wildstorm Volume 1 from Warren Ellis and John Davis Hunt. And this is the Wildstorm relaunch, which is finally being collected into trade. It's going to be collecting issues 1 through 6. And like I mentioned, it's the relaunch of the Wildstorm universe. And I've read the first 3 issues of this, and I can already tell you that it is incredible stuff. I think I'm still collecting the single issues. I'm just a little behind on reading them. But I can tell you, if you're a fan of Wildstorm, this is some terrific stuff as far as a reimagining goes. And if you are brand new to Wildstorm, it is great for you to check out as well. Warren Ellis does a great mix of pleasing old-time readers and being welcoming to new readers as well. And especially if you are a Warren Ellis fan, you owe it to yourself to check this out. It is going for $16.99, and I will definitely be picking that one up this week. The third book we have for our list is John Wick issue 1 from Greg Pak and Giovanni Valletta. And yes, ever since this was announced, I have been excited for this one. And I mean, this was already kind of an out-of-nowhere action franchise, with the first film being way better than it had any right to being, and then John Wick 2 being a much better sequel than it ever had any right to be. So this will be a nice placeholder until the third film comes out, which I believe is coming out in 2019. Not soon enough, in my opinion. But anyway, we have this comic from Greg Pak, who is a terrific writer. I am not as familiar with Giovanni Valletta, but I'm sure he is a good artist. If anything, that first cover looks fantastic, and apparently it's going to be covering the early days of John Wick, which makes sense. There's plenty of ground to cover within this universe, so I will be very curious to see how Greg Pak chooses to expand on the John Wick mythos. And that is also going for $3.99 as well, but believe me, it'll be more than worth it, and it is being published by Dynamite Comics. And finally, we've got ourselves Kata Lobotomy issue 1 from Peter Milligan and Tess Fowler. It is published by IDW Comics, but what's important about this is that this is the first issue from the newly minted Black Crown imprint, which is the new imprint line being edited by Shelley Bond, former Vertigo Comics editor, and it's one of the kind of new Vertigo-esque lines that's being published recently, along with Karen Berger's soon-to-be released line from Dark Horse, and I am just really curious to see how this is going to turn out. I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen with this one since I'm not too familiar with Peter Milligan's work, but I've heard Shelley Bond describe the Black Crown line, and I am incredibly excited to see each of these books and how they turn out. The first issue is going for $3.99, and I would honestly just recommend trying this out and going in blind, just seeing what happens. Whether or not you are a big indie comics fan or not, this would just be a cool way to just branch out and try some other things. Plus, when it comes down to new imprints and new fresh ideas in the comic book industry, it's a good idea to try and support them as best you can. That way we can kind of grow this industry out and make it better each and every day. That's kind of my big little spiel about Kata Lobotomy. I'm definitely going to be picking that one up as well when I go to the local comic shop this week. And feel free to let me know which books you're going to be picking up. And that's actually the show already. So, like I said, going to be a real quick episode. Really want to rattle through this and try not to ramble where I can. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to like, share, and subscribe for more comics-related content. Just a quick little update. Figured I'd make you guys aware. The Batgirl and Birds of Prey review is actually going to have to be delayed again. I really do apologize. A couple other things have come up for me to where I'm going to have to postpone it by at least a week, possibly 2. I will keep you posted in the weekly podcast I do with Patch when that one will be coming out. But thank you very much for your patience. I will make sure to pull out all the stops for that one. And thank you, as always, for your time, and I will see you again next week.